Before we start to install or configure Active Directory domain services, it is very important to understand what is this Active Directory actually. So in every office, whenever you work, you have a boss, right? And the boss always controls you. If there is no boss, it means that everyone is the administrator, and they can do whatever they want. And they do not have to authenticate in order to do any kind of job that requires authentication. Alright, so if you remember the bus topology in old times where we only had workstations all connected together and there was no server and everyone was able to do whatever they want because they were standalone and they did not have to authenticate, there was no login, there was no security or like a way to actually control those activities. Same thing in real life. When you have a boss, you have to actually authenticate through your boss in order to do something. So that is one of the simple examples. But Active Directory is a centralized server which we can use for authentication purposes. So whenever we have a computer, we can either have it standalone, meaning that not joined to the domain. Every day you come in and you log in using your local password, like your local username and password. But in most of the organizations these days where they have like multiple users, they all use Active Directory for authentication purposes so that everyone is able to actually authenticate through a server where their passwords are stored, where their user accounts are stored, and the administrator or the company itself have the full control over their account. And whenever they have to offboard an employee, they simply disable it from this server. They don't have to go to their PC and disable that. So that is something good that everyone is using these days. And then again, it is a centralized server for authentication purposes. Like I said, it stores all the objects such as users, groups, applications, or devices like printers. So you can store all those objects in Active Directory. And they have their attributes such as name, like first name, last name, phone number, organization name, role, who's the manager. You can put all those informations in Active Directory. Another thing is it also helps verify users' interaction, sign-ins, and authentication. So you can always check if someone, for example, tries to log in multiple times and they fail to log in. The Active Directory will, for example, disable their account or log their account automatically. So basically providing controls there, and then you're verifying their interactions and sign-ins. Ldap is one of the application protocols which is used by AD, and it is used for authentication purpose. So basically, when you authenticate, you are authenticating through Ldap, where you're providing your usernames and password, and then Ldap is allowing you to authenticate through Active Directory. Active Directory Certificate Services is another console that we have. And most organizations they use it these days in order to manage and share certificates, and certificates are in use whenever we have like information to encrypt and we want to encrypt an information and provide confidentiality and integrity in making sure that we have a secure sharing service in place. Another thing that we have is called Active Directory Right Management, where we have controls and for controls which we are actually putting in our different files, folders, like emails. So basically, whenever you want to limit access, you want to put permissions like right management, as the name implies, you are actually controlling all the access that you have been granting or you're granting into your network, so that you're limiting them through Active Directory right management services so that your confidential data stays safe in a safe hands. Alright, so that was it, and in our next lesson we will see how the Active Directory structure is, and I hope that was helpful.